Consumers are dynamic and ever-changing. In order for corporations to better serve their consumers, their needs, and their wants, it is imperative that those corporations understand who a consumer is inside and out. In order to better understand consumers, we propose that companies would do better by asking themselves a series of questions. First, who is my customers? What do my customers look like? What do they value? And how do they behave? Where does my customer live? How does my customer live? These are all questions at getting at who the customer is and what makes them tick. Second, how can I actually help my customer? If we know that all consumers have different needs and wants, it's important for me to first understand what those consumer needs and wants are. How can my company actually deliver on these needs and wants? What makes me unique relative to my competition in actually delivering on these needs and wants? And finally, who does my customer respect? Where does my customer go for information? Who influences my customers to make decisions? And more importantly, who does my customer actually trust when making any sort of purchasing decisions? If companies can take the time to better understand their customers on an intimate level by answering these questions, they are more likely to succeed in the market and certainly more likely to actually create value for their customers in the long term. It is important to understand the consumer decision process for any company who's trying to better serve their customers. Consumers make decisions about needs and wants over a predictable decision process. First and foremost, all customers are going to have a point where they have a need recognition. This is the time when there's a discrepancy or a difference between the current state of the customer and the desired state of the customer. At this point, the consumer will decide what is actually important for them in order to get to their desired state. The second stage is the information search. This is where the consumer actually goes out soliciting information as to what products or services could actually fulfill their needs and wants. Next comes the alternatives evaluations. This is a really important part of the consumer decision-making process. We know that consumers do not live in silos, and what we know is that there's a million competitors on the market. At the stage of the alternative evaluations, the consumer is trying to actually figure out what the best product or service is for them, given all the competition on the market. Next, we come to the point that many people focus on, which is the purchase. This is where the consumer actually makes a decision to buy something and actually goes through and buys it. And while many marketers will stop at the purchase and say that at the purchase we've now completed our task, I will tell you one of the most important aspects of the consumer decision process is post-purchase. In the post-purchase sale, the consumer will decide whether or not it is important for them to go back to the company to fulfill their needs and wants in the future. And what we all know is that to keep a customer is always better for the company than having to go back and get new customers every time. It's important that companies understand the consumer decision process and are ready to help consumers at every stage along it. We conclude this week with this simple but poignant quote by Peter Drucker. The purpose of a business is to create and keep a customer. Marketing is one of, if not the most important things that will determine the company's success. Everyone in your company, including you, needs to be involved. Thanks again for all your hard work this week.